So my next question, the state has cut local government funds in half in recent years. How has Broadview Heights coped with the loss of money? What other ideas do you have to help save money?
Well, I can tell you from watching the financial reports, reading the state auditor reports, Broadview Heights is in a good financial position right now. They've been very fiscally responsible, and again, I give a lot of accolades to the mayor and the current city council and administration for doing that. With regard to future loss of funding, you know, like any home, when the money gets cut, you have to start looking at needs versus wants. I'm not hearing that that is a significant issue in our city today, but we also have to anticipate things can change. Property taxes, everybody just got their notices within the last month, so they know they're going to be paying more. How are we using that fiscally responsibly to not only keep our city in the black, but financially responsible to the citizens, to the residents?
You said the words a couple times there, fiscal responsibilities, the key. And this administration has done a very good job of that, being smart about what we spend money on, saving money for a real rainy day or whatever you want to call it. You know, the general fund, I believe, is up 3 times what it was a couple years ago. We've done a tremendous job of setting budgets properly, sticking to budgets, saving money where we needed to, spending wisely instead of just, we need everything, buy everything. I mean, they've done a very good job of that. You can't predict the future, of course. The government may come back and say, okay, now you get X less dollars. And again, like kind of what Debbie said, you then hunt for places where you can save money, being smart about things. Hopefully you've saved up, which is what we are doing for those occasions, and then you move forward. Make a plan, stick to the plan.
Sure. Mr. Goodwin.
I will say, being on council, that this council has been very, very fiscally responsible, and they are examining every single expenditure, and we go over the budget with a fine-tooth comb. And I think that, very importantly, that we do make sure. Some people have asked me in the past, why did you vote against something? I simply have no problem about voting no. I am not going to go along with the crew if I feel that that it's not going to be physically responsible and it's not going to be best for the city. We have to be very careful. These are tough times, and we need to be very fiscally responsible with every dime that we have. In addition to that, we need to create a tax base. And that's very important, that our economic development, that we get some responsible development, things that are high net gains to the city. Simply residential is nice for people to have new housing stock to be able to move into, but it's actually a net drag on the city budget. And we have to make sure that we develop things that will help offset those, our finances there, so that we can end up with, continue to have the fine services that we have and the fine community that we all live in.
Ms. MAHNIC.
You know, I think being in a good financial situation is relative. You mentioned that you felt that we were in a healthy place. One of our last finance meetings that we were at, our financial director suggested that although we're at $3 million in unencumbered funds, $5 million would be a better place. When I first started out on council, we were, I believe, below $1 million. So over time, we've been able to save quite a few millions. But are we doing our best in taxpayers' money? I'm not sure. Recently, council had to make a decision on to give council raises and the mayor raises. And Glenn and I decided no, and the rest of council gave 8% raises to their positions and an 18% raise to the mayor position. And Glenn and I both voted against budgets that were inflated with raises to department heads that are appointed by or selected by the mayor and voted on by council. In 1 year, some of those department heads got $15,000 raise, a $9,000 raise. And is that being fiscally responsible when we have issues like flooding? Maybe we could have used that money to help resolve somebody else's issue. So there's more to this story than just what's on paper.
Sure. Mr. Price.
Thank you. Fiscal responsibility. It is not the responsibility, first and foremost, of the administration. We should make that clear. It's not. the purse strings are held by council. So the mayor can't spend a lot of this money without their support. So I commend the council, current and past. And when Glenn left office and you came in, it was actually at 1.7 million, but the market we had an economy that kind of crashed and it dropped down to 900 and some odd thousand dollars. So it did take a quick dip. When I came on to council in 2009, when I left, we were at 3.5 million, an all-time high. We more than doubled it in that 2-year period, and it was through fiscal responsibility. Now, while you voted against that pay raise, you recall I fought for a pay reduction in council during a very difficult time, a very tough subject, because I would walk into neighboring communities and another mayor would walk up to me and says, "You're a problem for me, Mr. Price, because I want to raise my pay and you're creating anxiety here for us." It was tough, and I twice motioned, and Jennifer did support both of those motions to reduce compensation of our elected officials during a difficult time, to show at the very core fiscal responsibility. Now, the grace we had was we settled with a 0% pay raise, so I'm grateful to the mayor and council, and it was council's decision in that regards. For the fiscal future responsibility, there are some concerns. The actual increase for the mayor ended up being 18.2%, which will impact the bottom line in the end. So, thank you.
Sure. Well, any response, Ms. Malnick?
Yes, Mr. Price mentioned that council really holds the purse strings. There are limitations to that. We can set, for example, for department heads, a pay range, but within that range, the mayor can set it, which is one of the most recent discussions. You know, I think some of us were concerned about, because our service director, who had been there for 25 years or so, left, and now we have a new one. And maybe we should take a look at the pay range, because it was set for someone who had, 25 years in and a lot of experience. There are also other things that the mayor can make purchases for, as long as it falls underneath a certain range. So we don't have a vote on everything. Right. I think sometimes we would like to have more of an opinion than we do. But it's a blend between the two, administration and city council.
I think you hit it on the head there, Jennifer, absolutely, because we have to work with the administration. That's the only way. We can't work against each other, but we have to work together, very importantly, because we have to appropriate money for him to be able to spend it, or her. And the mayor, needs to be able to spend that money responsibly. If not, I think he's going to hear it. I mean, I would hope that would happen in any community. Absolutely.
If not, we'll hear it.
We'll hear it, and we want to make sure that we're doing our job right.
And Glenn is key to that. He is right. But council does approve the budget. So if they didn't, even the mayor wouldn't be able to throw out those $10,000 checks. So in that regards, the council is the core supporter of that fiscal responsibility, and I think the next council should. And that starts with, by the way the forefathers of this country created the state of Ohio, the county of Cuyahoga, and the city of Broadview Heights. There should be a separation of power between the legislative side and the administrative side. It's there for a reason, and that's why you gotta watch who is out there endorsing who, because it can prevent that issue and block that issue of separation. It is a concern.
Any other comments?
I do have a comment. The finance director in Broadview Heights had announced that she was getting the letter from the state auditor showing the review of the financials for the city of Broadview Heights. I would encourage any interested resident to read that document. It is public record. It will be made available, and residents should be able to glean key points that the auditor is looking at. So if there are areas of concern or areas where the city has really shined, they should be aware of those issues.
Yeah, I just want to follow up one thing is our finance director is doing a very good job.
Absolutely.
She's very, very knowledgeable. She works very hard at her job. I do want to bring out that during my administration, this city has always worked very hard, I think, at the finances. And during my administration, I was proud that we had gotten a bond upgrade from Moody's. And since then we have not, but we're going to work very hard, because that will save us on borrowing costs for assessment projects. And to keep that bond rating, we are now within the top 5% of all municipalities when that upgrade came in 2005, of all municipalities in the nation in our rating.